All right, welcome back to Always Adaptive. My name is Randall James. I'm a strength and a running coach with 11 years of experience. And today we're breaking down another Dr. Mike Israetel video. I know, I'm picking on him. 2 Dr. Mike videos in 1 month. I'm not doing it intentionally. Hear me out. After his kettlebell swing video, it was just super ironic that he released another video shortly after showcasing just how unathletic he was. So I had to comment on it. The gist of the video is this. He has on expert coach Vernon Griffith and former Navy SEAL DJ Shipley to put him through a battery of tests. They have 3 levels for each test: standard, elite, and be a pro. The tests were broad jump, deadlifts, pull-ups, farmer carries, bench press, timed planks, and they finished off with an 800-meter run. This looked like a really fun test to go through. And honestly, mad respect to Dr. Mike for publicly doing it, but I think that this exposed some huge flaws in his training philosophies about things like the kettlebell swing. And it also exposed the level of athleticism Mike has to begin with, which wasn't good. The 2 tests I want to focus on are the broad jump and the 800-meter run. The rest of it, he did fairly well at. I was a little shocked at how hard the deadlift portion was for him, but then he said he hadn't deadlifted in around 8 years, and then it made sense. I don't care who you are and how much muscle you have. If you stop deadlifting for 8 years, trying to just go back to deadlifting 1.5 times your body weight for 5 reps is going to be hard. He pulled it off, though, even if just barely, and that's the problem. He just weighs so much, so any of these standards are just going to suck. Although, I do think I could get close to his numbers with a straight bar RDL weighing 50 pounds less than him. Notice I said close. I didn't say I could do it. Now, why am I focusing on those 2 tests? Well, I've coached athletes and I still coach runners, and power development is a big part of their training. That's my philosophy. Teaching people how to jump and land properly is a skill that needs to be taught in a specific sequence. When I saw Mike unable to land, my mind instantly went back to the kettlebell swing and how it trains the eccentric portion of the hip hinge in a ballistic manner. More on that in a moment. And then, of course, the 800-meter run stuck out to me because I'm a certified running coach. I've been an advocate for those that are capable of running doing so in some amount. Running is more important than you know, and the outcomes that we saw in this video were concerning to say the least. So we'll talk about that as well. But real quick, if you want more videos like this, where I react to other fitness videos and break down the fundamentals and science of what's actually going on using evidence and a unique personal experience you won't find anywhere else, then hit that like and subscribe button. I release a video every week on various topics that interest me. I love reading studies, and so this channel is basically either me showing you what I've been researching this week, or it'll just be a reaction video like this. Also, if you're on the audio version, a 5-star review goes a long way, but let me earn that from you first. Grab a coffee, sit back, and let me learn you. So on to the first clip.
The standard here is going for height, and they were going plus 12 and plus 12 for Be a Pro. The whole point of this is covering ground horizontally, accelerating with a good shin angle, sprinting, moving around a room, CQB, being dynamic, and also the mobility effect of landing in the hips, being able to land into our feet, maintain the arch of our foot. Just a good expression of power, and it's something that anyone can do. You don't need a vertex to check or something, just a horizontal expression of power.
Can I take a couple more?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Find some rhythm, use your arms. You gotta stick our landing so I can measure it off your
Me.
Throw your arms, place your feet. We do have to stick that landing so we can measure it though.
There's an athleticism requirement for that.
Put your feet there. Better. You gotta stick it, my guy.
So when I saw this, I instantly went back to Dr. Mike's critique of the kettlebell swing when he said that the kettlebell swing is predominantly a horizontal exercise when most sport is vertical in nature. He made a video called The Absolute Worst Exercises People Do, and I made a reaction video to that because the swing was in there. You can watch that here. And in it, I explain in great detail why the swing is great for power development. But I wanted to expand on that here and bring jumping into the picture. The reason why Mike isn't able to land this jump is that he isn't able to pull himself into the hip hinge fast enough to absorb the impact, which is why he keeps traveling forward. When I'm showing someone how to jump, the very first thing I show them before they even leave the ground is how to land. This is such an important step because without it, they'll continue to move in the direction they were traveling, or if it's just a straight up and down jump, the impact that they didn't absorb now goes up their legs and into their hips and lower backs, which can cause all kinds of problems down the line. You'll notice the Navy SEAL has an incredible ability to absorb his impact through the knees. He has to sink down incredibly fast to stop himself from continuing to go forward. Now, the next thing to notice here is that jumping like they are requires hip extension to get any sort of meaningful distance. You know what exercise trains both of these? both pulling yourself deep down into the hip hinge extremely quickly and controlling forces down there, as well as ballistic hip extension. The kettlebell swing, that's what. Mike is a very strong guy. Some of the numbers that he has put up over the years on various lifts are super impressive. But I think he is the perfect representation of how just doing bodybuilding is not enough for a lot of people. Nice muscle, what can you do with it comes to mind. There are some bodybuilders that are extremely athletic, but those people either played team sports in high school or college, or they were in the military and had a background that way. It was not bodybuilding that got them there. Now back to the jump. After teaching people how to land, the next step is to take off. This requires a violent swing of the arms as you extend your hips as powerfully as possible. You'll even notice Vernon says violent arms.
Aggressive, big launch, violent arms. Toes down, find your shins, hip!
This is such a huge component to jumping effectively, both for preloading the stretch reflex in the bottom of the hip hinge called the stretch shortening cycle, and also violent on the way up for sending the signal through the legs to drive into the floor. The body is incredibly well balanced to physics, equal and opposite forces and all that. So the more violent you can send something up, the more violent something will go down. Take this study, for example, titled Understanding How Arm Swing Enhances Performance in the Vertical Jump by Adrian Lees and colleagues. They examined the theories and mechanisms that underpin enhanced performance in the vertical jump when using an arm swing. In their experiment, subjects jumped higher, around 3.5 inches higher, in the arm swing compared to the no arm swing condition. And they showed that this increase was due to increased height by 28% and velocity by 72% of the center of mass at takeoff. That means they were more vertical at takeoff when they swung their arms. That's how they had an increased height of their center of mass. Pretty incredible. These mechanics are also very important for running, by the way. Arm swing is a crucial part of being able to run fast. That's a video for another time, though. The hip extension portion at takeoff is specifically overloaded using either kettlebell swings or Olympic lifts. Those are two of the very best tools to train hip extension without just plain old jumping. So this is definitely another win for the kettlebell swing as well. Anyone who tries to tell you the kettlebell swing isn't useful, send them this video because they are dead wrong. Yes, when you swing a super light bell, there's not much going on there. But when you can swing a really heavy bell with full range of motion going through deep hip flexion at the bottom of the swing, some really powerful things start to happen to your running and your jumping. I want to back that up with a study so we can sort of put to rest that the kettlebell swing is not useful for power. The study was titled Kettlebell Swing Training Improves Maximal and Explosive Strength. Here's how it was set up. They had 21 healthy guys ages 18 to 27, average body weight right around 72 kilos. They split them into two groups. One group did kettlebell swings, the other group did jump squats. And the training lasted about 6 weeks, just 2 sessions per week. The kettlebell group did 12 minutes total, 30 seconds of swings, 30 seconds of rest, repeated 12 times. They used 12 kilo bells if they were under 70 kilo body weight, and 16 kilo bells if they were heavier. The jump squat group did between 4 and 8 sets of 3 to 6 reps, adjusting the load anywhere from body weight all the way up to 60% of their max squat. Now, I will say that this was not a well-done study in terms of the kettlebell swing protocol that they used, but it's actually a good thing in relation to vertical jump height. The people doing swings were using incredibly light kettlebells. 12 and 16 kilo bells are considered novice level, and they also did them in a cardio fashion. Typically, unless you're specifically training conditioning, when you do heavy swings, you want to rest for a few minutes to let the creatine you used during the set replenish so you can be as explosive as possible. They did not do this. They only rested for 30 seconds. Obviously, I can't prove it here, but I would suspect that the results the kettlebell group experienced would have been substantially greater had they used heavier bells and longer rest periods like you would traditionally see in a power development protocol. Speaking of the results, here they are. For maximal strength, the half squat 1 rep max, there was around a 9.8% overall improvement from 165% to 181% of body mass lifted. No difference between the kettlebell and jump squat groups. For vertical jump height, there was roughly a 19.8% overall improvement. No difference between kettlebell and jump squat groups. So, this shows that the kettlebell swing, even in a shitty protocol, was just as effective as jump squats, which are an exercise that's well known to improve someone's vertical. Anyways, Mike eventually does stick the landing, but it's pretty surprising just how little power he has in this event for how strong of a guy he is. And that's another thing to remember. Strength does not equal power. Jumping far or high requires a lot of velocity, which is why swings and ollie lifting are perfect tools for improving both. Now, the other event that I wanted to talk about is the 800-meter run. I almost wanted to turn this into like a standalone video titled Why You Should Run, because there's a lot to talk about here. But instead of making multiple videos on different events, I figured I'd just mash them together. But why should you run? It's a question I encounter all the time. Running just makes you better at running. Well, beyond the obvious cardiovascular benefits that come from running and the bone density increases you get from high impact exercises, in moderation, of course, there's also the ability to save your own life. Let me put together some different scenarios in which if you can't run, you likely won't exist. Escaping a fire or explosion. Picture this. You're in a large building, parking garage, or industrial site when a fire or explosion breaks out. The nearest safe exit is several hundred meters away, and smoke is filling the air quick. Being able to run 800 meters quickly could get you out before toxic inhalation or structural collapse. Fleeing a dangerous animal. You're out hiking, and surprise, a bear or wild dog pack confronts you. Even if you can't outrun the animal forever, sprinting 800 meters to higher ground into dense brush or to a vehicle could definitely create enough separation to survive. Humans encounter wild animals all the time, and sometimes people don't have guns or bear spray. Escaping human threats. In an assault, kidnapping attempt, or active shooter scenario, sometimes your best option is to run. Being able to sustain 800 meters of fast running could put multiple city blocks between you and danger, giving you time to call for help or find safety. Even the people that are the most lethal in various martial arts like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai say that if you encounter a dangerous person out in the world, the first thing you should do is run. Every single one of them say this. Finding help for someone that's injured. Picture this. You're in a rural area or on a trail. A friend collapses from a heart attack or injury, and there's no phone signal. You may need to run 800 meters or more to reach a ranger station, a road, or a spot with cell phone reception to call emergency services. Being able to get there and back to your friend quickly could be the difference. Escaping environmental danger. Flash floods, tsunamis, tornadoes, or wildfires happen daily. Natural disasters often require short, decisive berths to higher ground or safer zones, a lot of times even further. Running at least 800 meters fast could carry you above floodwaters, out of a fire line, or up to a tsunami evacuation point. Now, you might say, that stuff never happens, Randall, but on average, there are roughly 170 new wildfires every single day. I mean, shit, my parents just had a massive wildfire right behind their house in Horry County, South Carolina, down by Myrtle Beach. Think about the fires in California. Think about the floods in Asheville, North Carolina. There was a flood in Texas that swooped away an entire Texas RV park, killing 37 people in 2021. Disasters of all kinds happen all the time. Next time you get some free time, look up wildfires in your city right now. You might be surprised to find out that there's a fire burning right this second, a bit closer to you than you would think it is. Not to mention running through an airport terminal because you're late. So being able to run can be a life-saving ability. Now, in the video, they just do an 800-meter run with the base standard being 3:15, elite being 3 minutes, and become a pro being 2:45. That's pretty fast for people that big. Navy SEALs usually aren't small, and the guy in the video, Shipley, definitely is not small. Those paces would correspond to 6:33 a mile base standard, 6:02 a mile for the elite standard, and 5:32 a mile for pro. The Navy SEAL DJ Shipley completes it in a blistering 2:42, which is a 5:27 mile pace, meaning he can likely run a full mile at around 5:45 to 6 minutes a mile. Again, for someone that big, that's very good. Now, towards the end, he mentions that he may have messed up his Achilles.
That's the win. Scott, you're doing God's work. My shins are gone.
His hat makes him look like a fucking pioneer. That sort of hat, you'd think he'd be running a lot faster with as much wind he's getting on that thing. 5:30.
Pull the left calf.
The other one.
Yep.
No fucking way.
30 feet, you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
30 feet, I feel like my Achilles popped.
Shit.
I do think that it was a mistake for him to do that event in barefoot shoes. I am a fan of barefoot shoes, but I think when we can, we should take advantage of the technology that running shoe companies have developed over the years. When you run, your heel should kiss the ground. That kiss stops the heel from lowering any further and allows you to propel yourself forward more easily. When you take away the raised heel, typically found in traditional running shoes, now it's up to your calf and your Achilles to stop your heel from striking the ground. Or if you're still letting your heel hit the floor, that's now a greater range of motion for the Achilles and gastroc, meaning more stress on those tissues. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't run at all in barefoot shoes. I think there is some merit to it, but I don't think that speed work or any sort of max effort duration should be done in them. A short, easy 3-miler, no problem. 8-mile tempo run, I wouldn't. It's a real bummer, though, if he did tear his Achilles. I'm wishing him a speedy recovery, and honestly, really good stuff on the test. I was super impressed by his performance. But let's talk about Mike's performance. 5 minutes and 30 seconds for 800 meters. That equates to roughly an 11:04 minute mile. Now, to put that into perspective, let's compare it to a fire. A fast-moving grass fire in dry, windy conditions can tear across the landscape at speeds up to 14 miles per hour. That's about a 4:15-mile pace. Nobody's outrunning that. Then you've got crown fires where the flames climb into the treetops and spread from crown to crown. Those can move as fast as 6 miles per hour, which works out to about a 10-minute mile. That's actually faster than Mike's run, and it means if a crown fire is bearing down on him, he would not be able to save his own life. Now, technically, forest fires that stay on the ground and move across flat land can creep along at just a half a mile to a mile in an hour. But here's the thing. Conditions are almost never perfectly flat and free of trees or brush. In the real world, wind, slope, and fuel almost always make a fire move faster. Not to mention that if Mike had to run a mile, it's almost certain that his pace would slow down to probably a 12 or 12:30 minute mile if he even could finish a full mile. My client Lori, who's 43, can run a 5K at about a 9-minute mile pace. She stopped running for a long time before we started working together, and it took her no time at all to make some really awesome progress. So you can too. But I just imagine Mike and Lori as like a couple late for a flight, and Lori's running through the terminal and Mike's just falling behind with every passing moment while she's screaming at him, "Pick up the pace." I'm sorry, Lori. I just had to. Now, I'm shaming Mike here a little bit, but hey, a lot of people in the fitness community love talking about shaming people for being fat. I say we start shaming people that can run but don't run. Notice I said can run because I know there's someone out there that's like, what about disabled people? Yes, that sucks for them. I'm talking about people that don't run because they don't think they need to. But yeah, Dr. Mike could probably run a little faster if he did some heavy kettlebell swings. Just saying, just throwing that out there, that's all. Now, as I said, Mike did okay in some of the other tests. It was also incredibly ironic that Mike ragged on farmer carries and Vernon had that as one of the tests. They had to walk with half their body weight, but I think Mike's performance here shows that, yes, there are very specific methods to obtain the most amount of muscle in the shortest amount of time, but that's not always good unless you are literally a competing bodybuilder getting on stage. If someone needs to bring up the width of their shoulders when viewing from the front, doing lateral raises would be way more effective at bringing that body part up quickly than doing a pressing motion, which, yes, activates the lateral head a little bit, but it will not achieve the same level of hypertrophy as the lateral raise. You should vary up your training. It's not that hard to have an extra day in your program devoted to non-traditional resistance training. Things like farmer carries, kettlebell swings, medicine ball slams, sandbag get-ups, lateral shuffles, agility ladder work, jumping, and the list goes on. Doing stuff like that even once bi-weekly could go a long way towards preparing your body for something other than just looking good. You can do your bodybuilding stuff the rest of the time, but don't end up like Mike here. I train my 70-year-old mom. I've been doing so for probably 6 to 7 years at this point. She's absolutely crushing it. She follows a full body program at her community gym that I designed for her, and she meets with me once a week online. Her program on her own is all hypertrophy work, and her session with me is more focused on swings. So she's getting the best of both worlds. She's building muscle and she's also moving quickly. She's 70 and she looks 55. You can do it too. But that's it for me. If you learned something new today, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. Like I said, I release a video weekly, and I'm really hoping to change Mike's mind about the kettlebell swing. Kettlebells can be a great addition to any sort of program, even if to just make someone be able to move with a bit more velocity. I'm also hoping the kettlebell people can cool their jets and stop making outlandish claims about the kettlebell being superior to athletic endeavors like MMA, because it's not. Uh-oh. I hear them marching. I hear them marching. Bring it. But once again, my name is Randall James, and this is Always Adaptive, a business born from the idea that you are always adapting, literally right this moment. Whether you're sitting or you're standing, that is an input. Your body is adapting to that. So control your inputs, and you can control your life. Thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one. Stay adaptive.